Hello again. This is Foundational Basics number 4, answering the simple question, what is consciousness? And how the heck do you spell it? Hi, this is your weekly dose of higher consciousness. And some of these podcasts and videos are created just to give you the foundational basics of what the podcast and the YouTube channel is all about. Because every week I'm going to be sharing a weekly dose of higher consciousness, but sometimes I'm going to say, hey, you might want to go back and check out Foundational Basics number 1, Foundational Basics number 2, 3, or 4. I'm going to ask you to go back and refer to that so you know what I'm talking about. And the more you get what I'm sharing with you, you're going to shift. I guarantee it. You can't help. And the consciousness science has proven that when you come into awareness of the truth of levels of consciousness, you can't help but shift into higher levels on your own. And I've learned a lot about going through this process with myself and understanding levels of consciousness and having experienced close to enlightened states of consciousness, high levels of consciousness, not 1,000, but I've been in the presence, I feel, of what I've come to know of about 850 on the map, and for sure in the 500s, high 500s, which is, again, you're not in Kansas anymore. I love to say that. I am not in Kansas anymore when I'm operating from higher levels of consciousness. So what is consciousness? That's a great question. And again, how do you spell it? So if you go to Google it, make sure you know how to spell it. C-O-N-S-C-I-O-U-N-E-S-S, consciousness. I always spell, and I use the word 100 times a day, and I still spell it wrong sometimes. My spell checker always catches me. Put the S in there, lady. All right, I'm going to try to keep consciousness simple. And I have to tell you, when I was first introduced to the notion of consciousness, which was 15 years ago, I was like a deer in a headlight, and I'm like, my eyes rolled back in my head. I had no interest. I'm like, what are you talking about? Can't we just drink a beer and not go there? So I've come a long way since then, and I call out thank you to the person who kind of introduced me to the whole thing. So I'm going to keep consciousness, kind of explain consciousness to you in a very simple way. First of all, you got to understand that God, divinity, life, whatever you want to call it, creator, is ever present, like in every single cell of your body, ever present. It's not an individual. And when I had the amazing opportunity to have the experience of being in the presence of divinity, I had no awareness of an individual. It was a presence. It's a presence. It's not a person. It's a presence. It's a frequency, or it's an energy of lovingness and joyfulness everywhere. Right? It's everywhere. It's in every cell of every body, every single one. When you look into the eyes of another, you're looking into the eyes of God. God is right there as you're talking to God through everybody. We're all talking to each other. So again, from lower levels of consciousness, you'll distort that understanding. And I'm going to ask you to, if you find yourself with a negative perception of anything I have to say, I want you to stop yourself and say, okay, I'm perceiving from a lower level of consciousness, and I need to change my mind. I need to shift. And you kind of ask life or ask God or divinity. I like to talk to higher consciousness. My intention is to see this from a higher level of consciousness. And as you set your intention for seeing things from a higher level of consciousness, you're going to start attracting those levels into your experience. They're going to help make the shift easier, and you'll start to feel it in your life. I feel it a lot in my life. I can see it. And then it kind of fades. The subtleness, this can be very subtle, but I notice it. I'm like, whoa, okay, there's something changing here, and you got to kind of pay attention. So what is consciousness? I'm going to try to make it simple. You've probably heard that we are a sea of consciousness, like the ocean is a sea of consciousness. And what are the levels of consciousness? Like, how do I use that? Like, how can I use, the ego is like, how can I use that to my advantage? How can I be more powerful? Which is okay. And Dr. Hawkins talks about tricking the ego. When you tell the ego, if you help the ego understand where true power is, the ego's like, oh, I want to go there. I want to be more powerful, which is good. And the spirit's like, hey, I know how to trick that, you guys. I'm going to get you back in alignment here. Step by step, we'll figure out what it is. So when you look at the map of consciousness, I'm going to try, let's start at 200. At 200, there's enough energy to light a light bulb. Let's just say that. I don't know how accurate it is, but I want to make it simple. So there's energy running through consciousness at 200 that can light a light bulb. All right? So now you decided you're going to step into neutral. And now you have more power. And in addition to lighting a light bulb, you have the means and the wherewithal to buy a car. You can buy a car now. Oh, geez, not only at 200 I was lighting a light bulb, now I can buy a car. And maybe you're paying the rent, right? You get by, you're paying the rent at 200. You're enjoying life, you contribute to life, and you care about life at 200. At 250, now you're buying a house, right? I'm just trying to put it into terms that you will get. There's more energy. There's more energy there for you to manifest what you want. You have a pretty good relationship. And loving life. You're enjoying life, you're happy, you're relatively happy. You have your ups and downs like all of us. But now you have the ability to buy a home. So you're buying a home. At 350 now, we're jumping up because now you're willing to accept you're the creator of your own experience. Now you're like an entrepreneur. I'm going to set my own course. I'm going to make my own business. And you're creating at a bigger level. And you're affecting people. You're affecting employees, stockholders, whatever. You've got more power now. And it can show up in the material world. It's easier to show up in the material world as you go up the map of consciousness, right? You have the power that supports it. When you get up into the 400s, now you're kind of like a world leader or scientist or someone who affects a lot of people in a positive way. And you've got all the material things you could ever want. And if you're really aligned with integrity and you're not running lower levels on the money, money is positively oriented, by the way, just so you know. It's in the 200s. I think it's 200, 225. It's positively oriented. So any projection, negative projection you put on it is your own. Money is actually supportive and contributes to life, which, it's a common way of trade for all of us. So it's helpful, helps support all that is. So in the 400s, you got a lot of power. We're going to talk about this throughout the podcast. When I start doing podcasts on a particular level, we're going to go deeper into each one of them. So I want you to look at levels of consciousness as levels of their energy levels. They're attractor fields with more energy in them. Like you need more energy to run a marathon, right? And marathon runners, by the way, and running calibrates at 360 on the map of consciousness. So if you can be a marathon runner, you're operating pretty high energy in order to do that, or running in general. You're running some high energy, and that's a level of health. So there's more energy, positively oriented energy running through you as you run up the map. Now, a phenomenal data point here on the map of consciousness is that 1,000 on the map, avatars throughout history, one avatar on the planet can offset the negativity of the entire planet. And for someone like me who's been in the presence of mass, enormous negativity, non-physical confrontations, that's huge. To offset the negativity of a planet is a lot. And it's incredibly powerful. And once you get up into the 500s and 600s, the material world doesn't matter. I mean, it's nice, and you love and appreciate it, but it's not. And as you let go of negativity in your own life, everything comes into balance. You enjoy life in general. You're happy in general. You have more than enough in general. And people talk about it, but I can assure you when you actually start to let go of the negativity, things get better. So I'm hoping I'm making consciousness simpler. It's an energy stream. You turn up the energy, you put more gas in the car, more horsepower in the car, you're gonna get more whatever you want. There's more power to support whatever it is you want to align with. So in order to align with something, you need more power in your life, and this is the type of power I'm talking about. So and you've seen it throughout life. You know who Susie Sunshine looks like. You know, someone who you would call Susie Sunshine, who's happy all the time. They're light and bright and happy and bring happiness and optimism into the world. They're running at a higher level energy. They may have lower level stuff running about themselves, which can offset their own level of consciousness, by the way. I mean, that's really, most of us are running low levels of consciousness about how we think and feel about ourselves. So I'm also here to help you let go of that because it's fun to appreciate that you're godding, really, your divinity, and the positive aspect of divinity, life, God, whatever you want to call it. When it's coming out, you don't even have to take credit for it. You can just be thankful that God's present. Like, oh, look at that. All right. So consciousness, look at it as a light bulb. How much power do you got? What do you want to manifest? You want to manifest something significant, you got to let go of the lower levels. So I hope I explained what consciousness is. If not, ask more questions in the comments below. All right. Next up, because many people ask, is how can I calibrate levels of consciousness? We'll talk about that in the next Foundational Basics to your weekly dose of higher consciousness. Again, my name is Liz Gracia. I am founder of the mindbodyspiritnetwork.com. Go check it out. I think you'll like it. I have all kinds of fun other podcasts and YouTube channels that I think you'll enjoy with other experts in the mind, body, spirit, consciousness fields. If you like what's going on here, subscribe to our podcast at trumpeteroftruthradio.com. Our YouTube channel is trumpeteroftruth.tv.com, and my website is trumpeteroftruth.com. Thank you so much. If you have questions or ideas of what you want me to talk about, share them. I will gladly answer any questions and put me to the test. Signing out.